Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Dr. Nasser Shake Show. I'm your guest host. My name is Dr. Nasser. And what's on tap for today was part three of our continuing series of the Vice debates with Latino Americans, both conservative Latinos and liberal Latinos, talking politics, society, social issues, all kinds of things, folks. And we're going to get to that in the next few seconds. But if you haven't already done so, subscribe to our channel, hit that notification bell, like, share, and follow us. Comment below, let us know what you think. Let's get to part three of the debates between conservative Latinos and liberal Latinos.
Policies we talk about immigration, but sometimes I feel like we don't even know how to refer to each other or address each other. We don't even know what the color of our skin means. So how do each of you identify racially?
I identify as a Latin American.
Would you say you're white, brown,
But I would say I'm white, yes.
Black, white.
black woman?
White, I guess, right? Are you talking about, sorry,
When you're
when you're saying
check a box.
Like physical,
like physical?
like
Yeah.
shape, but like not ethnically.
Yeah, I would say I'm white. I mean, based on my skin color, but usually I will put, if there's a box for Hispanic, I'll put that. Yeah.
I'm just white.
This idea of checking a box can mean a lot of things.
Well, that's what she's asking us.
She asked how we identify, right? So my family is from Nicaragua, right? If that's what you want to know, ethnically, Nicaraguan, American, I was born here, right? But my politics are very brown, black. I come from Indian people, period.
Again, this guy here, born in America, and yet, I guess just like all the other leftist, elitist, kids that are out there, born here in America, European white, end up to become, white elitist liberals. He's just a brown elitist liberal. I mean, basically, that's what he's saying. His politics are brown. He's brown, thinks all the time in color. Basically, that's what he is, going into academia, going to university. More power to him. More power to you. Power to the people, baby. Power to the people.
In the box, I typically put other. I'm native. I'm Pijao to be specific, and that's how I identify.
So I'm Nicaraguan, and for Nicaraguan, especially from la Costa Atlantica, the Atlantic coast, the Caribbean coast, which is indigenous, black, and Creole culture, I'm very light-skinned, and in my family, I'm very light-skinned.
So has anyone here experienced racism within the Latinx community?
Like systemically or like on an
what do you
individual
mean by
level?
that?
Like
what do you mean?
colorism level, class level.
You
that's
do, whatever is in your face all day long, how have you experienced it?
So for me, within the Latinx community, I believe that colorism is a huge issue. Just as a Dominican woman, or even just dealing with people, Latinx people in general, there's like an erasure in any country of people of color. So like in our media, in our music, in every aspect of our life, a lot of the things, it's like we're erased. Like if you look at our media in Latin America, you would think that we're just the help, we're the criminals. I'm treated differently within Latinx community. I'm either too black, or if I don't know my Spanish well enough, then now I'm not Latin enough. Or I get people speak Spanish around me, assuming that I don't speak Spanish, or it's, oh, you're black, or you're Latina, I didn't know. So it's like little things like that. It's just a huge issue of colorism that I feel is a major issue within the Latinx community.
Who else?
I just want to get to this girl right here, basically. Let's get back to her, because the thing is that if you watch our previous episodes, and I hope you go back and watch those, part 1 and part 2 of this series, I think it was part 1, she was talking about the racism that she feels every single day, that it manifests. It's in her bloodstream. I mean, she oozes it when she perspires. I mean, I'm basically putting mouths in her words, but I'm just trying to explain to you how she was explaining to everybody out there that if you don't understand how that racism affects me. So at that time, I'm assuming the racism she was talking about was from white people, okay? White European, white elites, white liberals, and obviously, white Trump supporters in her mind. That's where all that racism, that's where it was coming from. And now you're seeing that everybody's jumping up here. Oh, racism? Within the Latin community, within the Latinx population, with El Salvador, Nicaraguans, Puerto Ricans, Spanish, Hispanics, Latinos, Costa Rica, El Salvador, all these places, and whether you're light skinned white, a light skinned Latino, or a dark skinned Latino, or medium skinned, all these things are playing into place. Now I understand. I believe, okay, where her racism began to fester, was given birth to within her own community, within the Latin community, and then she extrapolates and extends it out, as a lot of these people do, onto white society. But it started in her home, in their home first, in their own community first. Because again, they said that the whole society is based on color. Within the Latinx community,
Latin enough, or I get people speak Spanish around me, assuming that I don't speak Spanish, or it's, oh, you're black, or you're Latina. So it's like little things like that. It's just a huge issue of colorism that I feel is a major issue within the Latinx community.
Who else?
People, I'm light-skinned, so I benefit from some of that light-skin privilege, and I'll talk about that, but I have been called dirty Mexican, I've been called dirty Brazilian. At my job, I used to work at a pet store, and this lady came to me, and I couldn't return one of her collars, and she called me a dirty Mexican, she called me a dirty Brazilian. And again, my family's been here for before 1492. We've been here for millions of years. And ironically, this lady who is European is gonna be calling me a foreigner, a dirty Mexican, dirty Brazilian, etc. So race changes a lot for me. People assume I'm Middle Eastern, people assume a lot of things. Within my family, people, we come from a multi-hue family. So my grandma, she's very dark skinned, and people call her, una India, and unfortunately this is the reality. And in Homestead, ICE raids happen a lot, and it's predominantly affecting the Maya community there that no one knows about. In Homestead, there's a huge Maya population, and no one talks about them because they're indigenous, they're just, they're just there. And it's so focused on the white Latino Miami experience as opposed to indigenous communities here in South Florida, as well as in the United States, as well as in Central South America.
Raise your hand if you are for the wall.
so anyways, we will stop there and end part 3 here, basically. But again, I think this was really, really interesting in terms of how they were portraying when they talked about race in the beginning of this, debate. It was all about being oppressed by whites and white elites, and remember the binary system and the political system. It was all about political class and the oppressed and the oppressor, and the white people being the oppressor, and because brown or whatever. But as you can see right here, within this community, I mean, if I saw her there, I mean, look, just looking, I would never assume that she had a Latin background, a Hispanic background or whatever. I would never assume. Here, I would probably be thinking more likely, yes, she also looks a little bit Bangladeshi, a little Indian. So you know what? That's what happens unless the features are just so predominant and are of that particular culture or that heritage or genetic makeup or background or ethnicity. It is very, very hard. I mean, just for example, if you take a look in India and Pakistan, in some place in Pakistan, up in the northern areas, the skin color is so white. The girls and the men and the women, very very light skin, blue eyes, green eyes, hazel, brown eyes, blondish hair, reddish hair, because of the mixture that occurred during all the different conquests, in that area. And you look at them and you go, that doesn't look like a typical person that you would think would be Indian or whatever. But then you go into Indian, whatever, and very dark-skinned Indians and very light-skinned Indians and all in between. The same thing with all kinds of cultures, especially when there's a pigmentation, obviously, within the skin color because of the melanin content and those kind of things. So very enlightening in terms of where these people sort of felt that, they were on the spectrum of checking off a box or whatever. So this was part 3 of the show. We're going to check out our other videos as we do more of these. I think there's about 3 or 4 more parts. So look for those, Latin liberals versus Latin conservatives. And you've been watching the Dr. Nasser Sheikh Show. I've been your guest host. My name is Dr. Nasser. If you haven't done so already, subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell, like, share, and follow us. And I'll leave you with my parting thought, which is, when you're right, you're right. And when you're left, you're wrong. We'll see you again next time, folks. Take care and stay safe.